Stop. I had 17.
I had 19.
21. 19. 21, Stuart? James? 14? Yeah, but you're pissed.
So I'm 76.
And what's that you're smoking?
84.
Just tobacco.
Just tobacco. Okay.
76 for me.
76, okay.
84.
84, right, that's, but then again, I suppose technically if you're sitting in front of a microphone, you'd expect a little bit of adrenaline of some sort, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that's, maybe that would explain that, I don't know.
I think Jace has mailed your, bit of, MP3. Have you got the, fader?
Okay, yeah, thank you for this, Jason. This is how we can really make the human zoo 21st.
Hello, it's Anthony Worrell Thompson here. How are you? My recipe for beans on toast. Open the tin with precision and making sure not to cut yourself on the serrated edges. And place the beans in the saucepan on a stone. Making sure to turn the heat up. And meanwhile, place 2 slices of bread under a active grill and brown both sides. You may want to scramble some eggs, but it's really not necessary. Not for this recipe. And time the beans and the toast, so ready at exactly the same time, and place onto the plate. Put approximately a tablespoon of tomato ketchup on the side, garnish with salt and pepper, and voila! Next week, tin tomatoes on toast. Thank you.
Now that actually is better than McGowan, isn't it? That's
very
good.
great. That's very good.
Because what I like about impressions is when they're parodies, you know, they're really sort of pointing up the ridiculousness of some of the, you know, vocal or physical mannerisms of somebody.
It's like a vocal caricature, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and that was a very good piss take.
Why the Batman music though? Very good.
I didn't
very
understand
good.
that at all.
But no.
Does it matter?
No, it doesn't.
It does, actually, because it just takes you away from the impression for a second. You think, Batman, okay, yeah, beans on toast, of course. No.
The thing is, well, next time you go to make beans on toast, will you be going, no.
Isn't that how the brain works? Yeah. Because it's completely associative, isn't it? One thought leads to another. You know, sometimes I'm having a nice thought. I'm driving along, and I'm having a nice thought, okay? And it might be something mundane, like, I don't know, I'm daydreaming that I'm scoring a goal against Argentina, alright? And I go, oh, yeah. And I go through a village and I see a sign, there's a lady standing underneath it, and the sign says Knutsford, and I think, so I'm now thinking about nuts. So from testicles, I think to myself, my left one's always been a bit bigger than my right one. And then now I'm on one side like that, and I think to myself, why am I sitting on there? And I go, oh shit, hang on. Oh, I've got my change in my back pocket. I hate these £2 coins. I'm driving along and I'm thinking, I hate these £2 coins. Now, and I think to myself, wait a minute. I don't like that thought. That doesn't work for me. I'm not having fun thinking about the £2 coins. Yeah. I need to go back to what I was thinking about before I started thinking about the £2 coin. But I can't go back to thinking about scoring a goal against Argentina in my own mind, because I can't make the connection. So I have to go, £2 coin, I was fishing in my pocket. I was on one cheek because my testicles are slightly. The woman with Knutsford coming from the thing. Oh, yeah! I'm scoring against Argentina! Now, am I alone in having...
No. Yeah, you have to backtrack, don't you, sometimes?
And you have to work on the connections.
Yep.
Do we all do this?
Yep.
Well, why the hell doesn't somebody explain this thing? Because you don't get that at school. You walk around thinking that you're weird until you're 54. and then you get a chance to do something like this and talk about the things that really matter in life and who we are to be a human, what it is to be a human being. You get that, Stuart?
Yep.
You do that?
Yeah.
And you're a young man?
Yeah, I still do.
But you still do that? And you do, Matt?
Yep.
James? No.
You need to look into the camera and ask the programmer if he can just change the simulation a little bit so we don't have to do that.
What?
Going back to the guy in the simulated world.
Oh, right, yeah, John Wright's guy, yeah.
You need to change the program just very slightly.
I think it's because not all memories as such are important need to be in the forefront of your mind, so your subconscious will store them away. But the way of unlocking that is by bringing up the connections that you just made. The most important memory from that would have been the last thing you were doing, which was your £2 coin.
Yeah.
Because that's your conscious memory, because that's where you're actively thinking.
That's your now, isn't it?
Yeah, whereas in your subconscious, the unimportant memory of you scoring a goal against Argentina, because it's not as important as the day your children were born, remembering that or anything.
No.
So you have to unlock that in your subconscious by moving back through your sort of active consciousness and remembering each little bit. I think that's...
Alright, okay, alright. Now, I've come across in my whole life 2 people who could control their minds as well as the rest of us can control our feet. Because assuming you're able-bodied, if you wanted to get up and walk out the room, you could, couldn't you? But you can't control your mind in the same way. But I've met a couple of people who are capable of doing it. And both of them said that what they do is they identify the feeling that they want and then think the thought that they associate with that feeling. So, you know, most of us, we think, I would like to be happy. But happiness is quite a fierce thing. I'm happy, I'm happy. It doesn't last very long, and it's kind of a bit sort of helium-fueled. But contentment, that kind of, oh, yeah.
Happy in your existence.
Yeah, contented.
Yeah.
You know. But I don't have a handful of visual images, thoughts that are already in my mind that make me have that feeling. So I can't do that, but they did. Because they created them. They made sure that they had this little library of single images, thoughts, transitory thoughts, moving thoughts that would go. So if they ever felt insecure or anxious or inappropriately angry, okay, and they wanted that feeling, then they would simply evoke that thought, find that thought, because they knew easily how to librarise that thought, and then their bodies, their whole selves, would be exactly where they wanted them to be. And I said to both of them, where did you read this? Who's your guru on this one? They both said the same answer. I had to work it out myself from when I was quite young. I said, oh, you've been here a few times, haven't you? And they said, yeah, we're not coming back. They both believed in reincarnation and that they were wise souls, and this was probably their last visit. But I've tried this, and I do find it very difficult, and which is why I'm probably going to have to come back several more times and learn a bit more, because the only way I can actually go, who cares, is if I have a couple of beers.
Yeah.
And that's simply true, you know? Come in a bit nearer.
Let's bring my chair in.
Yep.
And what you're saying there, I've spent quite a few years going down that thought path, and I'm getting quite close to that point of understanding, you know, and being happy.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a long time. When I first clicked, I was like, all of a sudden everything just seemed not pointless, but I suddenly realised that all the stuff that makes you annoyed and angry and kind of anxious and like, oh god, that's happening and this is happening, oh my god, I've got to deal with this today. I suddenly realised, and it was like a moment of clarity in a way, that if you can shed all of that, you get to this point where you're just happy and you just sort of...
Well, it's insignificant things that actually make you feel that way, isn't it? It's not the big things.
It's hard to verbalise it, because it's kind of like the...
No, you did a good job. You did a good job. But you're a young man, I will tell you, just you guys and anybody else who's bothered, I don't know why you should be really, because it's cheap philosophy, but I do believe this. And I tell my sons this. The reason we live, you know, to be around about 70 or 80 years is because that's how long it takes. And they say to me, what, Dad? And I go, well, I don't know. But I think that's how long it takes, this process of maturing the soul or wisening up the spirit or whatever it is. Oh, out-of-body experiences. We've got a contributor who's been on YouTube. I'd forget the contributor's name, but they might be logged on at the moment or might be able to listen to the podcast and say, oh, he's talking about me. A contributor who is on YouTube with a 5-minute piece to camera about their experiences of being outside of their body. And I read this week that scientists have managed to create somewhere.
Oh, I did too,
a simulation of the out-of-body experience.
They can stimulate the part of your mind that makes you think that you're having an out-of-body experience.
That's it. They show a screen on which you are able to see yourself as if you're another person, and that person gets touched on the back, and I didn't fully understand it, did you? But
no.
They prod this, they blindfold you.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
But you can see... You can see yourself.
It's like
as if you were out
reality.
of your body, yes.
Yeah.
And they prod you, and I didn't quite get it, but